What's going on, guys? So last week I worked a bit more on my animals, and this week I thought it was going to be just a simple thing of buying animals, but after thinking about it, in order to buy animals, you need to have a certain building to house the animals. It has to be specific to the specific type of the animal. So if it's a chicken, it's going to go into the coop. If it's a cow, it's going to be going into the barn. And then same thing with like pigs, goats should be barn, and rabbit, probably coop for smaller animals. Um, so with each thing I wanted to do, it was another step. So I finally did it. I probably spent like 10 to 15 hours this week um, doing all this. So now it works pretty well. And also when you when you want to build a building, you need certain land that the player owns. But I didn't even get to that point. I just instantiated the buildings in certain locations. So when I go over to the, um, this is supposed to be like the engineer builder I made here. And on trigger, there's a shop UI that pops up. And that's actually another thing I did where it's preloading, depending on the NPC that you go to, different items. So here I have a barn and a coop. So if let me go to the animals first. So they go to the animal guy, and he has a cow and a chicken. So let's say I want to try to buy a chicken or a cow. It's not working because there's no actual animal. So no text pops up yet, but I just know I set it for that. I mean, there's no building for that animal to go in. So let's build the barn, and it gets instantiated there. And now that I have a barn, I can't buy chickens because there's no house for it, but I could buy cows. So each barn's gonna have, let's say, 4 slots, and I can't do any more than that. So I haven't made them static yet, so he's coming right out of the barn. But I bought 4 of these cows, and now they're all running around. Now the same thing for the coop. Okay, made the 4, and there they are, walking around. Now I gave myself like 50,000 coins, so I'm going to do this a few more times. Let's build another barn. Coop, barn. And then we'll just buy the rest of the animals. So eventually I want to make it so there's like a player land that the player could buy, and then there's certain spots that these buildings could actually go. So here we go. So I also had to make the animals scriptable objects and certain items to hold the price and the actual animal that's being sold by whatever NPC. So this is actually working. This took me a while to do. But let me go into the scripts just to show you guys how much is involved in this. So my game manager here, we have a bunch of things. We have an animal generator, which literally generates the animal depending on I won't go into too much detail here because this is a lot. All these scripts that I've made. So the animal generator is going to generate based on the type and the position, and it's going to set the stats as well: name, age, bond, health, happiness. To start, for the shop trigger, this is when you go near the NPC, and it's going to open the shop, and it's going to pull in the catalog based on the NPC stats ID. So for example, if it's a rancher, it's going to have those animals. If it's the engineer, it's going to have the buildings you could buy. And at that point, it's going to pull up the UI, which has different buttons, which is going to be called. So if it's an item, it's going to purchase an item like we did previously. But if it's an animal, it's going to instantiate the animal and then add that animal to the specific building that it has, or it's assigned to. So if it's Coop or a barn. Purchase structure will generate the structure and determine the location, which is eventually going to be tied to the player land manager, which I've not done yet. And I'll probably do next week. So it might be like a building slot or something like that each building can go in. It'll be like an assigned size. That's what I'm thinking. But if you have enough coins, it's going to generate the structure at a certain location, and it's going to remove the coin. When you buy an animal, it's going to check if there's a farm building of that particular type. So it's going to get an animal slot based on the animal structure type, so Coop or if I go to animal here, so the animal type and the structure type. So if I go to enums, structure type, it might be a barn, cave, coop, and that's going to be assigned to whatever the animal requires. So if the animal slot's found, if there's enough coins to purchase the animal, it's going to generate the animal. It's going to tie it. It's going to add the animal to the animal slot of the particular that it was found from the farm building manager. So if I go to farm building, and this each farm building is going to be animal building. Shop slot. So the farm building manager is going to have all the animal buildings and all the like the greenhouses and things like that. And each animal building is going to be derived from the farm building because it's a farm building. And but it's going to have animal slots, which a regular farm building won't have. Like a greenhouse won't be able to house an animal. But these are the animal slots. And if I go to Unity here, these are the structures I bought. And let's say the first barn here has 4 animal slots. And if I click on that, it's going to take you to the actual animal that was assigned to this slot, which happens to be a cow. There you go. And if I go back to that, let's try the coop. And I did this all with scriptable objects because apparently you could store a lot of data with them, and they're much quicker to use. And this chicken happens to be in this guy here. So that's the basics of what I did. I'm not going to go into too much detail of all the different scripts. But next week I want to focus on allowing the player to, let's say, buy land that could be used to add structures to. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions or comments below.